Many of us deal with loss, depression, grief, and anger in different ways. And in these times, you may be dealing with one or multiple of these emotions. If you are, there's nothing wrong. You don't need to ranger up and prove to everyone you're tough. We already know that. You also don't need to stay in helplessness, worthlessness, or questioning your value. But the question is, what would it be like if you as a high-performing veteran in the workforce didn't have to suffer in silence anymore? What if you could gain the golden grenades to heal and therefore be more effective and efficient in your next mission in life?
And I was young, but can you imagine going into the doctor, having Medicare, and they're looking at me going, why do you have a Medicare card? It's like, well, because I have scars that you can't see. Yeah, you can't see that my husband and daughter were killed and that I have PTSD and that I have a titanium plate in the back of my head, right? But I could feel the judgment just from that stupid insurance card.
Today's show is going to be brought to you by Combat Flip-Flops. Their gear, their footwear, their apparel is like a victory cigar for your soul. Don't believe me? Go check out combatflipflops.com, where they're creating jobs, funding women's education, creating change in some of the toughest places on the planet. While you're there, check out their brand new badass Coyote Flopperators, which is instilled with military-grade tubular nylon and ejected with molded arch support, which is wrapped around your foot. Remember, every purchase funds one day of school for an Afghan girl. They're made in Bogota, Colombia, and don't forget about their badass lifetime warranty on each and every one of their items. If you do, Ambitious Vet, find something that you like on their website. Make sure to enter coupon code AMV Network to get your 25% off on each and every one of their items. Again, check out combatflipflops.com and let's start flopperating. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast, where we believe that if you desire more than you have in any area of life, you have to become more in the process. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps combat veteran turned social entrepreneur, family man, and personal and professional development leader. On this show, I dive into the trenches with big thinking and conscious veterans who know what it takes to not only pay the bills after the military, but really live with a sense of purpose, satisfaction, and career fulfillment we all desire most after financial stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. If you haven't already, Ambitious Vet, grab your pen and paper. It's time to gain the golden grenades needed to break through your fear barriers and live a life of purpose with passion.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vets? Welcome right back inside the trenches. An Ambitious Vet, do I have a gift for you? I got our second ever Super Patriot, is what I call them here on the show, where they're not necessarily mil spouse, active duty, or veteran, but they're a civilian that really has a passion for helping veterans, has worked with veterans in active duty, and also just really has a story that could potentially move you past your current circumstances. And I'm excited to introduce you to today or this evening's guest, wherever you're listening to this. Today or this evening's guest is Jennifer Tracy. Jennifer has spent most of her life as a cosmetologist, but due to some dramatic events in life, God had another plan for her life, which has now found her being invited to be a keynote speaker at the annual MAD Law Enforcement Recognition event in Denver. Now, since then, she also has positively influenced countless of thousands with her story. Today, she's a highly sought-after transformational speaker, author, and advocate in public venues as well as communities of faith. She's also recognized as a Colorado Women of Influence, served on the Colorado Task Force for Drunk and Impaired Driving since 2010. Her family's story of forgiveness, hope, and courage have been shared on Denver Channel 7 News, Channel 9 News, and in countless newspapers. Her story of forgiveness was recently featured in Good Housekeeping in 2018 and in Leading Hearts magazine for Christian women in leadership. Ambitious Vet, I'm excited to introduce to the show Jennifer Tracy. Jennifer, are you there?
I am. Hi, it's great to be here.
Man, it's exciting. It's exciting. I know that we had a pre-interview like I want to say few weeks ago, and just your story was so moving. To say the least. And I was just like, man, if you could move me and help me see some aha moments in a conversation, I can only imagine what you could do with a whole bunch of ambitious vets that are looking to get better inside the trenches.
Oh, thank you. That's such an honor. It really is.
Yeah. And it goes right back to you. So first and foremost, as I said in the introduction, you're not necessarily a veteran or mil spouse, right? But
Right.
you are a super patriot who's endured some of the most like difficult, most challenging things a human being in the uniform, military uniform, or out of it could ever deal with. And you've done a great job as far as packaging it and telling the story that's healing hundreds and thousands of people with your words, and specifically first responders, military, high achievers that are potentially suffering in silence. I think that they can get a lot of healing from your story. So let's start with your story, Jennifer, and then we can just kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think one of the fun things for me is that I really do come from a long line of warriors. My grandpa, I call him Poppy, he's a Vietnam War vet, two uncles, Marine, Navy. My brother was in the Army. So my gran was an officer in New Haven. So again, I come from a long line of warriors.
Nice.
Yeah, story for me kind of starts as this like young go-getter, successful, driven, had, graduated a year early from high school, had my cosmetology license, had my own hair salon, three little girls. And I found myself struggling with depression. And in that moment, I kind of did all the things that I thought I was supposed to do. I went to the doctor, really against my best, what I wanted to do. I ended up taking medication to try to help myself with the depression. Went to church, asked my leaders to pray over me. So again, that was a struggle, but I did all the things that I thought I should do. I even tried counseling. But a year into that battle with depression, I started having thoughts of suicide. And really battled suicidal ideation for an entire year. And suicidal ideation is just a beast, man. Like, you wake up every day with thoughts that you don't want to have. Like, you don't wake up and ask for the thoughts, but they're there. And most people who are struggling silently, it's like, you do everything that you possibly can to overcome those thoughts because you don't want them. But so for myself, and it's easier for me to share this now because I am years out from it. But sadly, one day I had picked my girls up from school, and they were all three in the back of our minivan, and I had the thought to just go ahead and end my life right there and then, and like drive my car into a wall and kill all of us. And the thought to do that just seriously almost made me sick, like in the car. And instead of doing that, I drove home, and I, told them to go play in their room. And I just said, you guys go play until daddy gets home, and you have to promise me that you won't come out. And so I called my husband, and long story short, I ended up walking myself into the psychiatric unit. And, back then, I had no idea what I had really just signed myself up for, but I knew that I had called out everything that I possibly could. And I was at the end of, like, I was at that ledge, right?
Yeah.
And so that was really the turning point for me. And what they discovered for me when I was in the psychiatric unit was that I actually had thyroid disease, that I didn't have any estrogen in my body at all. And that because of those two things, I hadn't slept well in 2 years. And so for myself, after about 4 to 6 weeks of taking, some medication and stuff, suicidal ideation was gone for me. I've never had it again.
Wow.
Okay. And I know that for other people who are listening and people that I work with when I'm coaching them, I know that like their answer isn't as simple, right? But it really, as we go through the rest of this, podcast today, like I'm going to pull out some of the teaching nuggets that I've discovered along this journey. But what's so important that I think the listeners understand today is this. I was just turning the corner of really coming out of that battle of suicidal ideation when my husband and daughter were killed in a car crash caused by a drunk driver. And I had 2 daughters survive the crash that day, and one of them was given a 20% chance to live. So, for me to battle suicidal ideation and then to lose my loved ones. And again, it's important that your listeners know it's like it didn't end there for me. I went on to have traumatic brain surgery where they cut open the back of my head, and it's called a Chiari-1 brain malformation. So I have a titanium plate in the back of my head. I like to call myself a metalhead now. And truly, I love listening to my heavy metal when I'm at the gym working out. So, it's been quite the journey here. And so, yeah, that's the start of my story.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty insane, Ambitious Vet. If you're listening to this, I hope you just slowed down and really heard that, right? Like going from, this chemical imbalance, right, of potentially depression, whatever, right, to going into, now losing a husband and one of her twin daughters. Imagine overcoming one obstacle and then, life rearing its heavy hand and hitting you with another problem, and how easy it is to just stay down, right? And if you're listening to this, you may be furloughed, you may be, in a dark place in your mind and unwilling to go to the darkest places of your mind. And I get it. Jennifer's been there, I've been there. And I just encourage you to not have circumstances or, potential thoughts that you may or may not be able to control, stop you in your life. So Jennifer, I mean, you have a coined saying, scars that people can't see. And I think that, that reigns so supreme inside the veteran, mill spouse, first responder space, of course. We're speaking specifically to potentially veterans here on the podcast. And it's inside your book, Inside the Mind of Suicide. I want you to kind of break that down because that's a lot of wisdom in just a few words, right? And I want you to break it down. And what are some silent things that you find like higher performing individuals suffer from? And what is one thing that we can get ahead of as far as those landmines, those things that stop us, that is stopping us from feeling happy or living more of that life worth living?
Yeah. And so I think the concept of scars that people can't see is it really offers this like unique challenge, because for myself, like here I am, this high achiever, right? Diagnosed with PTSD, I get on disability, and I was young, but can you imagine going into the doctor, having Medicare, and they're looking at me going, why do you have a Medicare card? It's like, well, because I have scars that you can't see. Yeah, you can't see that my husband and daughter were killed and that I have PTSD and that I have a titanium plate in the back of my head, right? But I could feel the judgment just from that stupid insurance card, right? And so what I found myself doing for a while was trying to make the outside, even my behaviors, match how I felt on the inside, which was so messed up, so scarred, so broken, right? So here I found myself letting myself go. Like I didn't do my makeup, I didn't shower, I didn't dress up. But then you flip that, we have so many high achievers who basically feel like they're faking it, right? They put the makeup on, they put the suit on, they have all these accolades, right? And yet on the inside, they feel so broken and so messed up. And so then they feel like they're faking it. And so scars that people can't see is really about this coming to grips with accepting that you can be both. That you can accept that you have these things that are going on the inside, and that the outside may or may not reflect, and it doesn't matter what other people think about that, you have to come to grips with, because you know your story. You know all of your story. And so for myself, like, I stand really in this like arena, and it's like, yeah, really? I dare you. I
Yeah.
dare you to take one foot into my arena and call me weak,
Yep.
right? Because at the end of the day, how many people would want to say, oh, yeah, you battled suicidal ideation? That's weak. It's like, really? Would you like to step into my arena and tell me that? Right?
Right.
But how many people, when they're in the middle of that battle, feel weak?
Right.
How many people, when those things have us down, they let those outside voices, they let other people who know nothing about them determine their value. And that's where I step back in and say, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Right? No, let's get back to that inner core of who we are and tap back in and say, no, we're not going to let those define us. And that's what I had to learn to do, was that those things didn't define me. And so that's huge, is really coming to grips with that, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, it takes a lot of like sitting back and slowing down with life, I would believe, right? And self-awareness to sit back and do the thinking around like, wow, I'm not those things, right? And I think that veterans, I know, for example, Ambitious Vet, for me, I got out, I did 6 months of cognitive behavioral therapy to deal with my post-traumatic stress. And, I felt like I was labeled as broken. And I was in like a peer group where there was like 10 people inside the group, and like all of them were like war veterans. And it was just like depressing. And I felt like I had to be broken. And I just think this is a powerful message, because Ambitious Fit, you don't have to live within a label, right? You can step out of PTSD. It's not like something you just get labeled or diagnosed for the rest of your life. You can choose to step out of it, but it is going to take a lot of, like Jennifer's saying, thinking, resources and tools and stuff like that. Is there anything you would add to that, Jennifer?
Yeah, it's just the same thing. Like, again, I jam pack all this in my book, but it's like, if you had seen my daughter who passed away, her name was Brittany, and she was the sweetest thing. But she was born with cerebral palsy. And so she walked different and she looked different, right?
Yeah.
And it's that same thing of like, we are not defined by those labels. And how easy is it that we look at other people or whatever, and yet we're so quickly to put those labels on ourselves. Like, we really are our own worst enemy, right? And society's tough too, especially, when it's like everything that you're working for is that next achievement, right? So it's hard to not find your value in that. And yet there's absolutely nothing wrong with striving for excellence. It's finding that balance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with that. Is finding the balance between, okay, there may be a problem with me, but also like, oh, there may not be. Like, I could maybe potentially be effective inside of the marketplace without, you know, feeling like I have issues, right? And stepping out of that and feeling powerful, right? And not, like you said, trying to bring the inside, have the outside match the inside, right? And being able to heal the inside, right? Which, how did you go about potentially doing that? Like, what was like one thing you did to potentially start healing from within?
So, I think that that's a really tough question, because how I actually have to answer that is, everyone comes to the ledge so very differently. And let me try and explain that to you. So, do you remember how I told you when I went into the psychiatric unit, I found like a physical problem
Yeah.
that we were able to fix like chemically, right?
Yep.
But here's the thing. Everyone comes to the ledge so very differently. So for instance, let's say we've got, someone who is just incredible, and they break a moral code. Let's say they do something they never thought they would do. Let's say they have an affair or something like that, right? They can find themselves on that ledge, and it has absolutely nothing to do with their thyroid, right? Okay. We can have another person who can find themselves on the ledge, and it has nothing to do with breaking a moral code. Like, they are outstanding people. They would give you the shirt off their back. It has nothing to do with their thyroid, but guess what? They grew up in a home where mom or dad told them that they were a piece of shit, right? And it's playing over and over and over in their mind, right? And so they have this like emotional trauma that they've never really dealt with. And that's caused them to come to the ledge, right? And so for myself, I guess I just kept unpeeling the layers and stood at the ledge and said, why am I here? Why am I at this ledge? Why am I not able to accept who I am? Why don't I love me? Like, I could love everyone else, but I couldn't love me, right? And when I had that realization of like, God loved me, that there was something bigger than me that found value in me, not because I was perfect and good and had it all together, but because I was valuable. Then that light bulb went off for me, and it was like, oh, okay, let's just start there, right? And so when I'm working with people, what I really like to teach them is this whole concept of like becoming a great marksman. And what that means is when you get up in the morning, like you set your intention of like, I want to hit that target. That's my goal. But guess what? We're human. And so we're going to miss. And so can we calculate in there some room for error? But the goal is just to become a great marksman, to strive for excellence and to never give up on that. And that's really what I've dedicated my life now. Like from that moment that I had that aha moment inside the psychiatric unit that I needed to love me and that if I wanted to survive, I had to learn how to fight for me. That was really my turning point, was that I was worth fighting for just as much as everyone else. And if I'm being honest with you, that really is what saved my life. Like when my husband and daughter passed away, I had this very clear analogy of like, I have to put the oxygen mask on myself first if I want to save my other two daughters who survived.
Yeah.
And so you'll hear me say, in the pursuit of saving lives, don't forget to save your own.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that philosophy, and it's so counterintuitive to the veteran audience as a whole, because our DNA is serve others first, right? And it is like, it's hard to own your individuality. And even, if we're in combat, right, if a grenade lands right in front of us from the enemy, both military members would be jumping on that grenade faster than you could ever imagine, because they're trying to save the other person. So it is like that. But the awesome thing about this whole thing, Jennifer, is like, we are talking to veterans here that are been out for a while, and they're starting to realize that, yes, serving a bigger mission, waking up with intention, having intentionality in your life and serving the bigger purpose gets you, stability in every way, but necessarily doesn't give you fulfillment. So what I'm hearing, what you're saying, like, we do have to find ways to peel back the onions, heal ourselves within, so we can actually feel that fulfillment, that sense of self-worth, and feel good enough for small things. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, absolutely. And again, like, it's important because again, we have like a wide variety of listeners, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone's different. But like I shared with you when we talked, a few weeks ago, I said, look, if your check engine light came on while you were driving, would you feel any fear or shame to take your car in and have them run a diagnostic test? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ask people, is like, hey, if those lights are going off, right, let's just get them looked at, right? If you're well past that, let's say you already know you've got the PTSD and you're trying to like redefine what your purpose is. You're trying to redefine this new life that you have, right? For myself, I think you all would agree with me that when my husband and daughter were killed, I was not handed a lemon. Right, guys? I was not handed a lemon and said, let's just make some lemonade. No, I was handed a pile of shit.
Yeah.
But do you know what I've discovered? That shit can grow some really amazing flowers.
Come on. And that takes that. And, I don't want to step over that. That takes a lot of courage, right? To, just repurpose that in your mind to see it that way, right? So like you've just done an incredible amount of work on yourself to have you see that. And I'm just so grateful that you're coming out and sharing this story, right? In a way that provides healing for people that need healing from multiple traumatic experiences, right? So Ambitious Vet, we're going to take a quick 10-second break to thank one of our sponsors, but don't go anywhere because right when we get back, we're going to be diving into this amazing program that Jennifer has created, Redefine Your Mission, that dives into 5 things that we cannot control and what to do about it. Stay tuned. Hey, Ambitious Vet, did you know that not all weight is created equal? Well, I know personally from doing a 7-month deployment in Helmand, Providence, Afghanistan, and filling sandbags and carrying those damn things around to just create more stability around our compound there. I found that sandbags is definitely hard to move around, but more importantly, it works muscles that you didn't even know were working that you would feel the next day. And I remember in Afghanistan, I don't know about you, for those of you guys that are listening to this that have served, but that's also an hour in weight training, doing the gym, comparatively speaking. And sandbags have always been one of those things that have been so easy to learn. It challenges the whole body and is the most versatile and functional fitness tool since rocks for cavemen, right? So if you haven't already, Ambitious Vet, I encourage you to go check out Brute Force sandbags and avoid that COVID-19 body we're all afraid of during these times. Go check out their gear, their training, and also their lifestyle. Where you can train accordingly during these times by clicking the show notes below. Now back to the show. All right, Ambitious Vet, we're right back into the trenches with Jennifer Tracy. I'm excited to dive into this next topic because if Ambitious Vet, if you haven't already, go and connect with her on LinkedIn. Jennifer Tracy's, which you can look her up and you can just see all the amazing work that she's done. But there's a very impactful video on LinkedIn that kind of dives into the key components of this program that she's created, which touches more deeper on all the key concepts that we've been talking about and more some. And it's called Redefine Your Mission, which this video, she goes on to explain the 5 things we cannot control and what we can do about it, which she learned back at 19 through a Psychology 101 course, right? Which is incredible what we can learn from small things that in our life, right, Jennifer? And I just believe there are a lot of veterans out there that, Ambitious Vet, you that are listening to this, that you may be having problems navigating through this mental battlefield, right? I know I have that problem on a day in and day out basis. I deal with a lot of self-doubt that I have to figure out how to get ahead of. So I don't know what it is for you, Ambitious Vet, but I want to kind of dive into Jennifer's idea around how can we stay effective, stay efficient, but still navigate through the daily battlefield of our mind. So Jennifer, what would be one thing that we cannot control and how can we, what can we do about it?
Yeah. So again, I always tell people, I'm like, pull up your hand, man. There are 5 things that we have absolutely no control over. And when you know them like the back of your hand, it can help you so quickly focus on that one thing that you can't control. So the 5 things that you can't control are time and death, other people, the DNA you're born with, the weather, and the last one is the past. And it's this concept, you guys, of grief, okay? It's going through those stages of grief all around all of those things, right? So someone that you love has died. All right, well, that's time and death, and it's the past, right? We can't undo the past. Like nothing, even if all of you listening wanted to go get the man who killed my husband and daughter, and let's say you wanted to kill him for me, right? Will it ever bring back my loved ones? It won't, right? Because it's part of the past, right? Like I cannot undo the past, right? And when I focus on that and I say, I can't change that, it allows me the freedom to focus on what I can do, right? So if someone's born with a DNA makeup, I know I come from a family, like my grandma has thyroid and she takes anxiety medication. So I come from a family of both of those DNA markers, right? So it's not being ashamed of that. Like whatever DNA you come from, like accept that, look at it for what it is and say, okay, well, what can I do with this? My brain surgery, right? It's one of those 5 things, you guys. Like I can't change the fact that I was born with a Chiari brain that, grew down in my spine. But guess what I had to do? I had to move across the country and make the decision to live in a state where I could live pain-free. Because here in Florida, the altitude is less, and so is the barometric pressure. And how many people will stay where they lived and complain for the rest of their life, right? Instead of saying, how can I solve this problem? And like that's, for me, I know you guys have it. And that's probably my biggest thing that I want to drive home for you guys today is you already have proven that you're warriors. You already know what it takes to win, that it takes teamwork and a strategy, right? And so now you need to redefine that mission and learn those new strategies and new solutions. And that's what we've packaged up. I mean, like that's what I've put together for you is all of the different ways, because it's not just one. Like you may be like, oh yeah, strategy 7, Jennifer, that's the one for me, right? And someone else might be like, oh man, I need 3, 7, 8, and 12. Like who knows, right?
Yep.
And you might listen to lesson 6 and be like, I don't like this lady. And I'll be like, that's okay, right? Because I kind of push some buttons, but it's because I'm trying to get you to dig deep,
That's great. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of potential, just veterans, active duty, first responders necessarily need is that kind of pushback. Someone that's willing to get in their face and be like, look, like we're making like a Superman or Superwoman like impact, right? And it's time for that to happen again. Let's unleash you. Let's get down to the core of the things that are having you not feel like you're living that life. And it sounds like what you guys have been able to package has been able to kind of unravel that. And like, to your point, you've learned how to peel back layers. It sounds like this would potentially allow an ambitious vet to be able to start peeling back some layers. Am I right?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, right? When we think about PTSD or mental health struggles, they make us feel powerless. They make us feel weak, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But when we allow ourselves to peel back that layer, and every one of us has been handed that pile of shit, that's the truth. But when we allow ourselves to peel back that layer, and then you and I have a stare down, and I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Right? And you're like, I know what I'm going to do with it, right? You take your power back. And then you go out and you do something with it. And guess what? Now you feel all of a sudden, you feel empowered, right? Because you're saying, no, this is not how my story's written. This is not how it goes down. This is what I'm going to do about it today. And that's empowering. And you do that right in the middle of the mess. It's not like the mess goes away, right? It's not like the fact that, I'm coming up on 16 years since I've seen my daughter. Like, this past weekend, I had my own meltdown, damn it. Like, I miss her. Right? Like, that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But, right? I have to take it and say, all right, sit yourself down, do your thing, Jen. And then it's like, all right, what are you going to do about it? Here I am.
Yeah. Which is such a hard thing to accept, but you've done a great job of it. And, Ambitious Vet, I don't know what you potentially could be dealing with. And that's exactly why I brought Jennifer Tracy onto this episode is like, I don't know what you may be dealing with. Only you, if you took an honest look inside the mirror, know what that is, right? It could be self-doubt. Second guessing, trying to find another civilian career and wanting to go back into reservists or back into the military service, right? For security or stability, or, maybe you are still lingering depression, anxiety, or post-traumatic stress from getting out of the uniform. And you've tried the whole cognitive behavioral therapy stuff for psychiatrists, and it's just not working. I definitely suggest you go to somebody that has been there, done it and has overcome it. That's the only way that you can get through some difficult times. And also for me, Jennifer, just a quick sidebar story for me. It was once I stopped the cognitive behavioral therapy and got into like more transformative work, which is when I started feeling more unleashed, more powerful, more fully self-expressed, just more effective in my work. And it was like, I was around people that were actually dealing with the same shit I was dealing with. So it's just so much more powerful with that. So ambitious, go ahead, Jennifer.
I was just going to say, I think you've seen me on LinkedIn say that, which is like, if you've tried something and that hasn't worked for you, find the courage to try something else.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's all about, right? Is that you have to find that thing. That's why I can't say like, oh, this is the one thing I did to overcome it. It was like, well, that's what worked for me, but we have to find what works for you.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. No better words have been spoken. That's great.
Right. That fortitude of saying, I won't quit till I find what works for me.
Yeah. Like persistence, right? Like, okay, this didn't work. Doesn't mean that not everything else is going to work. I'm the common denominator here. And let's figure out what would work, right? That's what I'm hearing. So Ambitious Vet, we're going to take our last sponsor break. And then once we come back, we're going to wrap this whole thing up with Jennifer Tracy's 3 golden grenades. And then stay tuned because we got a special offer for you at the very end of this show. We'll be right back. Ambitious Vet, have you ever wanted to carry a watch that you're proud of? Maybe you want to feel more bolder or more original. Wear a watch that most people are not wearing, right? Well, if that's you, check out Original Grain Watches. It's co-founded by a Marine Corps veteran and his brother. And what they're best known for is their craftsmanship that goes into each design and the stories that are told about each and every reusable raw material. For example, I currently have the Classic, which is amazing. It's a watch that, and I've wore Rolexes, I've wore like Invictos, which is a off-brand, like nice watch brand, and big faces. And this watch in particular gets the most just compliments. Ambitious Vet is the best way I could describe it because of this steel, the stainless steel that they use, the natural hardwood, and the original bold look of it. If you don't believe me, go check it out at originalgrain.com. If you like any of their premium watches there, make sure that you get a 10% discount on us by entering AMV Network 10 to get your 10% discount. Now back to the show. All right, Ambitious Vet, we're right back inside the trenches with Jennifer Tracy, who is a super patriot / warrior. And if you're hearing the golden grenades that have already been being spit out from this woman, it's absolutely amazing what she's been able to overcome. She's taken things like post-traumatic stress disorder, losing her husband and one of her twin daughters, to even having a brain potential injury, right? She overcame such of the biggest things. And some of us that maybe you that are listening to this, you can't even get ahead of post-traumatic stress disorder. So sometimes, civilians know your language. They know what you deal with, rather they've served or not. And I really want to hit that home inside this whole episode, right? She may not be a veteran. She may not be a first responder, but she's definitely dealt with some crazy shit in her life. And she's developed the resilience, some mental tools to help continuing to push forward and fulfill on a bigger mission. So anybody that's done that is good enough to be on this show. So we're going to wrap this whole thing up, Jennifer, with 3 golden grenades. They're pretty much wisdom bombs that you could potentially wrap up this whole episode with, 3 things that you've already talked about, but pretty much what these are 3 things that could help an ambitious vet that's in the trenches, that's lacking life satisfaction, fulfillment, or maybe a sense of purpose out of the uniform. What would be those 3 golden grenades?
Number 1 is this. Again, it's in my book. Lose the battle, win the war. Okay? I have to decide sometimes when it's okay to lose that small battle because I have a clear, defined focus on what my war is. And my war, when my husband and daughter were killed, was to be able to look back on my life and say, I wanted my 2 other daughters to be able to say, My mom didn't die that day too. My mom didn't turn numb and never show up. My mom didn't check out. My mom didn't kill herself. My mom never gave up, right? That's my war. And that's something like 16 years, right? I've missed my daughter, right? Like that's a big war, right?
Right.
So, but I have to be okay with those small battles. So it's okay to like accept some of those smaller defeats, which again, when you're a warrior is so hard to do,
Hmm.
but you stay focused on the big picture. Okay. The other thing is we don't want pity. Understand that. Find yourself a group of people who don't emit pity. We want
Hmm.
respect,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's why I love working with you guys, because when I talk with you or we're doing stuff together or whatever, right? I want your respect
Hmm.
and I respect you. I don't want your pity, right? I want you to say, damn, what a journey, and be like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, right? So find that group of people that you can feel that around. And really that third thing, you guys, is just, it's really that tribe, making sure that you put yourself into that and say, my life matters. Here's the thing, you guys. When I battled suicidal ideation, my thoughts told me that my daughters were better off without me.
Hmm.
My thoughts told me every day that because I was broken, that they were better off without me. Now, can you imagine? I share the stage with my youngest daughter. She's 22, and we speak in front of thousands of people. Can you imagine if I had taken my life and believed that lie?
Hmm.
Right?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, over here with me, I hear that and I'm just like, well, like then the stat of 22 veterans a day committing suicide. I mean, that stat will never lower for someone that's unwilling to go through the courage and the work that it takes to not be part of that 22. But I think from what I've read on you is it's like over every 40 seconds someone takes their life as far as just suicide in general.
Right.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, you surviving it and thriving now afterwards allows a lot of other people that are potentially even having that thought to hopefully survive, especially during a time like this. So just thank you for that story. And I'm excited to, kind of talk about the special offer that you're going to exclusively provide, the ambitious vet that's listening to this right now. Jennifer, do you want to kind of dive into what you're going to offer the ambitious vet community?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so excited. I have partnered with Doc Springer. You guys, she is incredible. She just wrote a book called Warrior. Her and I have put together a bundle. It's a mental health bundle. It's called Redefine Your Mission. It's got my book, her book, and then inside of it, there are over 40 short videos, straight talk, you guys, critical insights. And we've packaged this entire thing together, and we're offering a discount today. So I don't know what it comes to, but it's $79 for both of our books, plus both courses and the application guide. So yeah, if you enjoyed today and you want Inside My Mind and you want to know a lot of, the thoughts, and again, Doc Springer, she's amazing, you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that anybody that acts on this potential offer, I mean, what you said, it's $79
Yeah.
regular. I mean, that's very little money for the healing that is provided based on everything that this woman alone has gone through, Ambitious Vet. So look at the potential ROI long term of having peace of mind, calmness, just more confidence in your everyday life, but also, for very few people that act on this, you're going to get a 10% discount on this course, right? On us here at the Ambitious Vet Network. And all you got to do is enter an AMV network inside the checkout. Correct, Jennifer?
Yeah. It's just a coupon code. I put it in there for you guys. And I do want to say as well, seriously, if there is anyone that was ever listening and finances were an issue, all you have to do is go into that contact, just let me know, and I would absolutely open up that course for you. I would never want finances to be the reason that somebody did not get these resources.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, Jennifer. You are awesome. And thank you for coming on the show. Where can people go find out more about you outside of the course?
I am at jennifertracy-inspire.com. I have a lot of hidden pages on there. I've got a call for backup page on there, an action game plan. But seriously, if you really do need some coaching or some one-to-one help, just head there, connect with me. What makes me really different is I really work with people and set up a game plan, and we have very actionable goals. So we work together really towards things that you need to overcome. And I think that people just enjoy that sense of like accomplishment.
Yeah, those quick wins, this practicality,
Yep.
all that good stuff. Us veterans, we love frameworks, we love structure. We eat that up. That's how we perform. So
Yep.
that's incredible. Ambitious Fed, if you're listening to this, just go look at all of her work. You can tell that she's a woman that has experienced this, and she knows how to heal, which is sometimes what we need the most during these times, so we can come back better in the recovery process of not only this COVID stuff, but take this time to heal yourself so you can go become more of an economical value inside of your next career, your next business you want to start, whatever that is. Well, Jennifer, I just want to thank you for being on the show. You're incredible. Your story is absolutely just moving, is the word that continues to go through my head. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the work that you're doing for everyone in the world.
Yeah, and before I go, I just want to say thank you all, even you, for your service. I do know that the freedom that I have to do and live comes from all of you guys. And so just a heartfelt thank you. Again, not pity, but like respect. Thank you.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Again, today's show is brought to you by Combat Flip-Flops. Ambitious Vet, if you're looking for a footwear that is like a victory cigar for your soul, look no further than Combat Flip-Flops. Also, every single purchase is creating change in some of the toughest places on the planet. They don't only have footwear, they have apparel, accessories, all that. And don't forget that if you find anything of your liking inside their website, make sure to enter in coupon code AMV Network at checkout and receive your 25% off discount. Again, check out combatflipflops.com.